Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast and another episode of Hot Hands. We've got Nick Schmaltz today, who's being added quite a bit, and part of it may be streaming options, while also some people may be looking at him and saying, oh my god, Nick Schmaltz is the real deal. Look at all these goals. And I'm about to paint you a pretty negative picture on Nick Schmaltz. I am not high on him long-term, I'll tell you that from the get-go. But I have reasons, at least. I can back them up. Also, if you're finding us through whatever channel, hopefully you enjoyed maybe the Quinn Hughes video, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get our Hot Hands and Bust Watch videos before anybody else, and all our other episodes which give you advice on who to pick up. Okay, so let's jump into what is going on with Nick Schmaltz and why in the world is he getting picked up so much. Now, like I said, part of it is the schedule situation. He has a somewhat easy schedule next week. He goes on the East Coast stint, so he plays the Isles, the Devils, and the Rangers. They have 3 games, and then they have one off night, which is versus the Devils. But here's the situation. So he's currently on the second line with Christian Dvorak and Connor Garland, which has been red hot recently. That second line has been killing it, although really they kind of fluctuate. This second and this third line kind of fluctuate as a 2-3. They kind of split those two, so it's not necessarily a clear-cut second line. It's more like they kind of fluctuate those two. And then if we go down to the power play, he plays on this second power play unit with Connor Garland, Carl Soderberg, Nick Schmaltz, who is him, Jacob Chychrun, and Jordan Osterley. So not a great second power play. And this top power play is way better. Now, I could see him eventually slotting in for Christian Dvorak, but right now, it doesn't seem like they want to change anything up. So for now, it seems like he's pretty locked into that second power play unit. Now, if we go over to his stats, he's been red hot recently. I mean, insanely on fire. So if we look at what he's done, he's played 6 games so far. He's on a 96-point pace. Not going to happen, I'm telling you that right now. And he has 13 shots on goal, actually shooting quite a bit, which is really, really good. But his shooting percentage is 23%. That's not going to continue. He is not going to shoot at 23% the rest of the season. He shot at 11.3 last year. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. Let's say he falls somewhere around there. Now, let's go to some of the more concerning things. Obviously, the shooting percentage is unsustainable and concerning, and one of the reasons I'm not high on him long term. But there's a few other things too. So the other thing here is average time on ice. Now, if we look at his average time on ice, way down from last year, first off. Went from about almost 18 minutes last year to right now he's playing just around almost 14 minutes a game. That's really low. I mean, that's like borderline fourth line, but a third line minutes. That's not good. You need way more minutes than that, and especially given how hot he's been and all the points he's getting, for those to be even close to sustainable or even have a chance to be sustainable, those minutes have to go up. So that's the number one thing that is alerting me that until those minutes go up, I'm not buying it. And if you look at these last few games when he's been red hot, and one of the reasons he's being picked up so much as a streamer option, although I'm seeing so many takes that he's the real deal, don't buy it. If you want that to continue, you're gonna have to see those minutes go up, and the minutes have stayed down through this streak. So that's one of the number one things I'm eyeing. Now, another thing that is a little bit concerning is his IPP. It's 100%. That means for every point that's been scored while he's on the ice, he's been involved. That's way too high. Not going to happen. I mean, not even John Carlson, who's insane, is at 100%. And we know that that's not even... John Carlson's numbers aren't even sustainable, so 100% is even less sustainable. That's just not going to continue. So that's a little bit of a worrying thing, that on the third line and second power play, he's involved in literally every point that happens. And quite frankly, right now, it's too many points given the minutes. And then if we take a look at the actual time on the power play, and his on-ice shooting percentage, before I jump over to that, on-ice shooting percentage at almost 15%. Way too high given his line mates. Not buying that one bit. And then if we go over to actual power play time on ice, it's dipped almost 40%, let's say, if we round up a few percentage points. But he's playing around 2 minutes on the power play. Not a lot, way down from last year. It's 41% of the Arizona Coyotes power play time. So not high on that. I'm not liking where Nick Schmaltz is going. And if you remember, if you've watched Building Winners, I dropped him way back and earlier because I just don't like this deployment. This deployment isn't worth it. I mean, yeah, maybe he'll go on these streaks, but it's not going to continue happening. That's just not how it works. Okay, and then if we go over to HockeyViz, another thing that is a little concerning is when you look at the 5-on-5 width. So when Schmaltz is on the ice, they're significantly worse on offense. Like minus 16% threat levels with Schmaltz, average without him. He's pretty good on defense, actually, and I think a lot of that has to do with the line that he's on, minus 32% at 68 minutes, but that can also kind of be explained potentially by his matchups. I think he's getting somewhat easy matchups at the moment, so I would hold off on necessarily saying that he's fantastic defensively because of this, but I would say, okay, he's been good defensively, so he's deserved some of his minutes. And then the last thing here to point out with Nick Schmaltz is his offensive zone starts. So if we take a look over here, I'll highlight it right all the way over here. Oh, great. I highlighted the whole table. Lovely. That helps. The zone starts. So he's getting 58.1% of his starts in the offensive zone, which is good. So even though he's been good defensively, apparently, he's getting most of his starts in the offensive zone. But really, the things that are worrying is the shooting percentage is too high. The minutes are too low. On-ice shooting percentage is way too high at almost 16%. That's just not going to continue. So when I look at a guy like Nick Schmaltz, he's a decent streamer option for now. And especially this next week, if you have spots, then maybe, because he has a pretty easy schedule. But outside of that, please don't be looking at Nick Schmaltz as a long-term option right now. The only way that Nick Schmaltz becomes a long-term option is if you see him take over, let's say, Clayton Keller's top line spot. He's obviously not taking Phil Kessel's top line spot. Maybe they try him at center over Derek Stepan. Don't see that happening either. The other opportunity there is that he takes over top power play. But even if he takes over top power play, you're probably looking at an increase in minutes of like 2 max, right? So you're 15 minutes of time on ice, whatever. So I'm not high on him long term. And again, a lot of things need to change for him to actually be long-term fantasy relevant. Now, if you're picking him up solely for the sake of this next week as a streamer option because he has an easy schedule, then sure. Although I do think that there's going to be better options this next week because there are some teams with really good schedules and that play more games than Arizona. And again, Arizona only has 1 off night. So if you're doing it for that streamer option, then again, you're only getting 1 off night. So be sure to make sure that he's actually going to be able to play in those slots. So again, last thing here, short-term streamer option. If that, be sure to take a look at who else is around because there's just so many things that just scream unsustainable to you. So there you go. Very short, quick thing on Nick Schmaltz because I saw him getting added. Figured I needed to kind of put people's minds in the right perspective, understand what they're picking up. Because there's a lot of points. Sometimes people just look at points and say, oh my God, I need to grab this guy. But there's a lot of underlying things too that are worrying with Nick Schmaltz. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that one. Be sure to throw it a like. Oh, check out the Bust Watch video on Quinn Hughes to learn a little bit about why you shouldn't be dropping him too early. Unless you're in a peripherals league, in which case a little bit of a shorter leash, but still you should advocate patience with him. And other than that, we will see you for, we'll probably do some more Bust Watch or Hot Hands videos tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.